Hello, 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 everybody. Hey, we have a really interesting podcast today. It's chopping it up with who? Chopping it up with you. Chopping it up with me. Chopping it up on 3, 2, 1. We got Addie the Baddie here on all social media platforms. But we also have Hannah right here as well. Hannah Lee, sincerely Hannah on all social media platforms. So this podcast is going to get pretty interesting because it's some things that we've all been through, and maybe you've even been through it, but you don't know that you're going through it. It's something that
We've all been through it, but hopefully not like everybody.
yeah,
But if you can.
we're here to talk about it. So, one thing I did want to say, we've all been in different types of abusive relationships, and we're going to kind of get into it. I have a definition here of what an abusive relationship is. When I looked it up, to be honest, it gave me a hotline. It was like, if you asking, you probably need some help. So guys, if you end up figuring out at the end of this that you are in one of these situations, go to the hotline. There's a lot of help here in our area. They have domestic violence counselors, and there's a lot of help you can reach out to. So please, or like contact one of us. Our links will be down below, and just talking to us, we could help in a lot of different ways. Either direct you or just be an ear to be like, how do I get out of this? Because yeah, see, we should see Hannah. She got good ideas. We can't hear you, lady. She's not shy whatsoever.
I'm new to this whole camera thing and this whole live thing.
I know, but she's so good at it. The first time I met her, I was like, "You need to be on my podcast, bro." Like she got it, and we have the greatest conversations ever. And then when I met Addie, I thought the same thing too. I was like, "We definitely have to talk about this, cause what the fudge? Like, what the hell?" So this is what an abusive relationship is, and we might laugh about things that are super serious, because sometimes when people get nervous, we laugh. And the fact that being strong women, sometimes we don't want to accept that we were victims. That took me a while. But
it's better than being looked at like,
right.
Okay. Like, you gotta joke about it. Like,
yeah.
It's like, haha, I'm fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally. Okay, so what the first thing is, signs of an abusive relationship is accusing the victim of perceived slights, controlling the attire of the victim. So what you wear, how you dress, all of that. Demeaning behaviors and attitude toward the victim. Publicly shaming the victim.
Yeah.
Harassment of the victim publicly. Bruises on the body. So that's more on the physical side. Bruises on the body, black eye, bleeding, cuts, lacerations, and broken bones on the victim. Whew. Sometimes. The victim displays rapid changes in behavior, sexually transmitted infections on the victim or person, because most of the time people will cheat or talk to other people. Overdose of medication or underdose of medication of the victim. And malnutrition of the victim. Ooh, I lost a lot of weight. You either gain a lot or you lose a lot. Growing health issues of the victim and withdrawing behaviors by the victim. Then we go into narcissism, because do you guys feel like a narcissist can be physically abusive as well as mentally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that more often than not, they're both. And if they haven't been physically abusive, I feel like they probably will eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Narcissist. I feel like everyone nowadays knows what a narcissist is. just very about themselves, always making themselves a victim, you know, and just yeah, and I just feel like eventually like they get to that point, whether it's like out of frustration, whether it's wanting control, like control by instilling fear into their victim, you know, like what better way to control someone than make them be terrified of you,
Right.
you know what I mean? Than like for you to be scared of them and like what they're gonna do, what are you gonna do to them if they leave, what are you gonna do, you know, if they don't do something right? Like there's just
Right.
it's like
All
it's
of that.
obvious for them to get
I
to
think
that
the thing
point.
with using the term narcissist is it's really important to understand, like, there's TikTok narcissist, there's the social media narcissist, and then there's like what a real narcissist is. Just like, you know, like they've glamorized being crazy, but it's like having a severe mental illness is not cool.
True.
Like it's not cool. Like saying, "Oh, he's a narcissist." He might not be. He might just be an asshole. He might just be kind of selfish.
Exactly.
But like a narcissist, a real narcissist, lacks empathy. So it's not that they, like you say, they don't care. They actually don't. Like they lack the ability. They are not crying about you. They do not miss you because they don't care. They didn't love you. They lack the capacity to love you.
Yes, and
That
I've
part.
noticed too, like they're always planning like 10 steps ahead.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
It's
like
a game to them.
Yes, like people are like you could have narcissistic like tendencies,
Right.
you know, like everyone's a little bit narcissistic.
It's a spectrum,
but,
like anything.
But like narcissistic people are like figuring out how they can use everyone, how they can use you, how they can
Against,
use their other bitch. You
It's
know,
just
how
a
they
game
can
where
use
all
this
pawns,
bitch, like
like-
how we can use this dude. They're always trying to figure out, and it's like they're thinking about how they can manipulate every single person
To serve them.
versus like, you know, me was every other person's little bit of narcissism. Like we're not thinking that far, you know. You're not. You're just thinking with your feelings. I feel like you're more
Right.
like with your emotions and shit.
I feel like though that some people could be in the starts of narcissism because they haven't been in relationships, so they don't really know how to manipulate in a way,
And
but they want to.
And I feel like you see that, but then some of it, I also feel like it is just like you have to separate, because narcissism, like they've done studies and it's hardly ever reversible. Like, because the biggest thing with a narcissist, like a real one, is they don't believe they are.
They're never going to go into a therapist in the first
Where
place
it's like,
to get
again, you can
diagnosed with
have-
narcissism.
They
I would say
can't.
you and I had
They
a-
lack accountability.
Because you and I still
Yeah.
debate about one of my exes that she's wants to label as maybe just micro narcissist. And I just think it was maybe lack of relationship experience, like a little bit selfish. And I think you have to be careful there because like a narcissist doesn't care. And sometimes somebody might care and just not know how to be healthy or how to communicate that or how to have that balance.
So that's where it's kind of iffy because it's like since they don't have the experience, could they be?
Oh, easily.
If they did, you know, since they have
Easily.
tendencies.
Yeah, because everyone knows right from wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, you know what's right from wrong. Like I feel like everyone's like talked shit before, and as soon as you say something, you're like, oof, why did I say that? You know, and I think that when you get to that moment when you're like, oof, why do I say that? Like how you handle that is who you are as a person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, are you going to apologize after you say something that you shouldn't?
Right.
Or are you going to double down and, you know, and say that you're right when you're obviously wrong? Like a narcissist will never say that they're wrong.
Yeah, because they don't ever believe they are.
Exactly.
Or like,
But that's where like nobody's born a narcissist. So like a narcissist is created. So it can start at any point in somebody's life. Like it could be from traumatic event or from environment. So like you see a lot of narcissists created by parents that never told them no.
But that's how they'll get
Like,
you caught.
yeah.
But that's how they'll get you caught is by saying, "Oh, listen to my sob story. You know, I'm sorry I'm treating you like this."
Well, they
This
learn how
is
to use
why I'm
everything
like
as a
that.
weapon.
Exactly.
Like-
Like I said, there's so many people who have been through so much more traumatic shit, and they're not going to sit there and use it against you, or like to use it to like defend their crappy behavior.
say that again. Say that again.
Like there's, you know what I mean? You hear all these stories about people who come out for nothing and like they're successful and like they didn't have to sit there and put other people down on the way up.
Right.
I feel like another thing to remember is like you don't like you can be abusive without being a narcissist. Like you can be one without the other. I think you could be a narcissist without being abusive. I mean, you see a lot of them be both. But I don't like I'm sure there are plenty of abusive people that aren't narcissists.
Yeah.
And I think that's why some people go more into the physically abusive aspect because they don't know how to manipulate you mentally. So the only way they can is physically. And so that's where I'm like, ooh, like it's touchy.
It's usually like a scale, like it builds, because like once their other tactics of controlling
yeah,
you stop
like,
working,
yeah.
they slowly progress and get more extreme.
I mean, physically is mentally too at the end of the day.
No,
I mean,
yeah.
at least for me, it didn't start physical, but it was like once once I caught on and once the other tactics weren't working, it was
right.
Exactly. I was thinking about that too. Like I literally was thinking about that before I came here. I'm like, you know, like what led up to it. Like for me, it was pinching, dude. Like he would come up to me and he would pinch me.
Yes, and when no one else sees it, so then you freak out. You look like a crazy person,
and
you're
would
like
pinch my arms, and like, dude, I would have bruises on my body and stuff. And
Hidden.
like, it got to the point where like I like had like I said to him. I remember that was the first time I ever said to him like, "Hey, you're abusing me. Like this is abuse.
Like there's marks, bro. Look."
Yeah, and yeah, that was the first time I ever said anything, and it was just weird because and then I started thinking like what came up after that. You know, it was like pulling my hair a little bit harder and like
seeing
just
what
like,
they can get away with.
Yeah, and like that's really what it was, like building up until, you know, it just got
like
too
that
far.
makes me emotional because I'm looking back at mine and I feel like they didn't know how to. And that's why I say like people can have narcissistic tactics and not know how to use it until they're in a relationship, because my ex started getting better at manipulating me and I was starting to believe her.
Because they're also learning you. And like the more you give up, like any information, any past traumas that you give them, they're going to weaponize that.
Right.
So it's like the more they learn, the deeper they're getting.
If I would have had like, because since they were learning me, if I would have been in the relationship longer, it could have led to physical. Because I was starting to hurt myself.
Yeah.
Because I was feeling so crazy and she wasn't getting it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, now I'm satisfying her because now I look crazy and
see,
she
that's how
feels
you know you're
good.
with a narcissist. If you're asking yourself daily if you're crazy,
that's what.
Or if you ever find yourself being like, "Am I a narcissist?" No, a narcissist.
Googling it, like
you're sitting at your therapist, like, "Am I a narcissist, sweetheart?" But you're asking that question. You're
no, exactly. Like with my ex, like with me, it started like, oh, it's your birth control. It's your birth control.
Oh my gosh.
So I got off my birth control. Then it's like, oh, you're just crazy. You need to get on pills. So I got on pills. And then it was like, oh, you know, the pills aren't working. You need to go to therapy. And then I remember even telling him, like, towards like the end of our relationship, you know, thank you for telling me I needed to go get pills and go to therapy. Because if it wasn't for that, I probably never would have gotten out of that mindset to leave you and realize this is not what I want anymore.
That's exactly what happened with me. I started therapy because I started feeling crazy. And I'm like, maybe I'm bipolar. Because how am I happy?
Yeah.
And then how am I super sad that like, I'm starting to think I want to end my life, but I don't want to leave my kids. And then I was like,
feels like scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
Dude, okay. Yeah. No.
And then I was even more confused because we were in a poly relationship. So now I'm thinking that my husband is he's the narcissist because that's what they said, right? And I was like, well, why would she gear me wrong? Maybe I've just never seen this.
It's the telling everybody different things, because it's like then you start to feel crazy and then you're isolated and you don't know who to believe. They start turning people against you and you're like, then at that point it's like, for at least me, like everyone got turned against me, and then you don't even want to tell anybody when it gets to the really scary part or when it gets to the physically abusive part, because they didn't believe everything else. So you're like, everyone's going to think I'm crazy or I'm making it up.
For me, I actually reached out to my abusers, like his like friends and stuff. I have. And I like,
mine didn't have friends.
Yeah, like reached out to them and like I would get like blocked like instantly. And it would be insane. And then these are the same people who are like now being like, oh, she's crazy, she's making up stuff. And I'm like, dude, I literally remember calling you and being
like, you can't make up a you think I'm just out here pinching myself for fun?
Yeah.
For real. And I mean, that kind of goes back to what I did. That's what I did. Like, not for fun, because I was frustrated. I remember beating and hitting the wall so bad. I caused bruises, and like I almost felt like I broke my hand because I caused bruises, and I pulled my hair, and I was like, don't hit my face, because then people are gonna know that I'm in some type of a relationship. Yeah, I can see them now. I just got on. Yes, our live keeps lagging. It says that we don't have really good internet connection, but unfortunately I can't control that. Text him real quick. Well, thank you so much for letting us know, though, because it makes us know that you are interested in this life. But man, it's just so crazy. And like, I remember they would tell me my husband was a narcissist, so I'm over here like literally going against the advice he's giving me to pull away from this person. But I'm like, no, he's just trying to be controlling. He's just doing this. It's because he's jealous. It's because da 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 da. And then when I finally distanced myself, I was like, he was right.
Finally started seeing it.
And my family was right. They seen it, but I was in denial.
That's what tuck your tail between your legs and be like, guys were right.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, I am so sorry. And like they like just tell me like, okay, like it's fine, like you didn't know. But I'm like, I am so sorry, because low key I seen it, but I didn't want to believe it.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the hardest part, because I bet people outside of the bubble will say like, oh, somebody's stupid for staying with them, right? And it's like, we're not thinking correctly. We're like in a daze.
Alternate universe almost. Like it's literally like towards the end of it, you're
like
separated.
All you can think about too is like, how do I make this other person happy?
Yes.
Like, how do I make this relationship work?
And I think the other thing people don't understand is like, because I feel like one of the number one questions I get asked is like, well, why did you stay? Or how did you end up in that? It doesn't start out like that. Like I was not prepared for the love bombing. I was not prepared for the fake. Like that it never happened.
And like, then so it's like you always want that back. So you like keep chasing the good. When the
it's
good
like a drug they've
lasts.
done studies. It's because you get that dopamine hit and you get addicted to that high and that low, where your whole life, all your priority just becomes making them happy. But it happens so slowly that you don't realize that it's happening until you're so deep in it and you look crazy because everyone else around you can see it and they've got you and you're just like, no, there's no way.
No, for me, it was like, so like, this was like the first older man I'd ever been like interested in or anything like that. And he helped me out so much. Like, helped me out, gave me rides to work every day. I didn't have a car, like paid for my car to get fixed.
But that's why you gotta watch him, because he's making you dependent on him.
Yeah, would bring me on all these vacations. Like I told him, like I've never seen the ocean before. He brought me to saw the ocean. You know what I mean? Told him I never did this before. Memories. Did this. Like on
you
my,
gonna remember me.
Like like on my birthday, like I'd wake up, he'd send me like $200. You know what I mean? Just like shit like that. And like the time where I met him, I literally was homeless. I was sleeping on my friend's couch over at Westdale Apartments when I met him. You know what I mean? And like I didn't have a job, I didn't have nothing. Like I literally got left out here. And I was previously in like a very toxic relationship. And that relationship, that man would sit on top of himself and beat himself up in the face and shit like that and bang his head off stuff.
Wow.
And then so my most recent, he knew about all this stuff. Like when we were friends, I told him about this, I told him about that. He played the white knight so well, you know what I mean? He played the knight in shining armor, like coming up, I'm gonna save you. There was even one night I was running away from my other ex, like calling for help, you know, and I ended up calling this dude, and he came and got me out the snow. You know, like this guy was there for me so much, and like I would tell my family, you know, like he's here for me, he's helping me. They're like, well, why don't you give him a chance? Like, why don't you give Buddy a chance? You know what I mean? So like my family was kind of like pushing me into that, like older
but they didn't know.
Like and they didn't know, and then like, and so I really fucking leaned into it because I'm like, you know, older man, like stable, he has a house, you know, all this shit, like all this stuff that I'd never been like, you know, like around before, and so that really like.
And then at a certain point, you kind of feel like you owe them because you're like, oh, like well, you saved me.
Oh, he would literally say that to me. He would be like, he would literally be like, well, I brought you on this trip. I brought you this. I brought you that. I'm like, yeah, bro, but you were just sending this bitch $200 last week, you know, or you were bringing this bitch to another.
Like, well, I didn't ask you to do that
on a vacation. Like, exactly.
Yep, that
and
part.
It would always just be. It would always just be shit like that, like manipulative and like.
Or when they throw it in your face, like how Hannah just said, it's like, well, I didn't ask you to do that, but it's like, but you. So one thing I did notice right now about just reading the room and reading myself is like, this is a very touchy subject. I could feel like my throat chakra tightening.
I like bawled on before I came over here.
Oh, I forget it's a lot more fresh for you.
Yeah. Like I was like bawling because I was just like, I don't know. I haven't really like, I've tried so hard like not to like talk about it.
Yeah.
Because this has been like 2 years in the making.
Oh,
So,
damn.
yeah, this has been 2
Mine's
years.
been a little over a year. And I get really emotional because we have a kid that we share. And it's like, even now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, that baby is mine. Like, even though he didn't come out of me, like, I'm so, so attached to him. Like, when we were first going through it, she didn't let us see him. And I felt like my heart was like tearing apart. Like if somebody kidnapped my baby. And it was like the hardest thing ever. So it's like when kids are involved, it's like another level of pain because you don't like you have more resentment towards this person.
And we end up getting kind of used as a pawn with you.
Yeah.
It's like you can try to prevent it.
And they use the kids against you and it works because you love the kids so much. But it's like, how can I just never have anything to do with you? But I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you get the opportunity, but like,
in my case.
and it's just like these things, I feel like it's so hard to heal from. Like, no matter the time, like, time doesn't exist when it comes to like mental abuse.
I asked my therapist, like, specifically, like, I remember after getting, like, being officially done with, like, that relationship, I remember being out of it for a while and just still feeling like I missed him, but I didn't. Like, I didn't want to be, like, it was like my body was shutting down. I was having, like, actual withdrawal. And I remember in my head, you know, it'd been long enough, like, a typical breakup, I would have been over at that point. And I remember sitting in front of my therapist and just being like, what do I need to do? Like, how much longer is this gonna be? Like, I'm over this. How do I get my mind and my, like, everything to catch up? Because I'm good. Like, I'm not going back. And the way she explained it to me, well, she asked me how long I was in it for. And I was like, I mean, 4-ish years, give or take. And she's like, well, like, times that by, like, I think she's like 2 or 2.5 or something.
Damn.
And I remember right there, I was like, all right, like, buckle up, like, you've got some healing to do.
So for me, one thing I've like struggled with is like celibacy. So like I can't sleep with anyone since my ex. Like I can't, like, the feeling of like someone getting on top of me like literally makes me freak out. Like I've tried multiple times. It ends up in me like bawling my eyes out, like just getting like restrained, like getting held down or like anything like that.
Being like a lot more jumpy.
It triggers me. Yeah.
Okay.
Like people, like if people put up their hand, I'm instantly like flinching and stuff. And like I've tried being in a relationship since like I've ended stuff, but like I can't.
Don't give up. Be patient.
Like I can't.
Like,
and
do
like
that thing where look
and
at your time and like give yourself
and I'm
that
so
time.
happy too, because like the guy that I met now, he's like so patient with me and like so understanding and like everything, but like it's just I was just like not ready like at all. And I don't know, like I've even told him, I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to be ready. But like there's just so many things that I never thought would like bother me, like watching TV shows, like watching a movie, like I remember I didn't know, like there's this movie called like Flowers or something, like some like a wildflower movie or something, and like I didn't know what the movie was about, and I put it on and it ended up being about a woman who left like an abusive relationship. And it was like literally like, and I couldn't watch it, and I was like, bro, what? I was like, are you kidding me? I'm like, like I literally cannot watch something on TV now because it like without breaking down. And like that's when I realized like, damn, I am like actually like super traumatized because of the stuff that happened to me.
And I brought that up too to my therapist, kind of like what you said earlier. It's like I started therapy and therapy made me realize to get out. And now that I'm out, luckily my therapist has like been through with me. So they know my healing process. And that too is like one thing that she told me, because I was like, why do I still feel this way? Why did I break down just from seeing her? And she didn't even say anything. And she was like, you can have PTSD from narcissistic relationships.
I got diagnosed with CPS.
What's that?
Complex
post-traumatic
stress.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm currently
Yay.
going to. I currently just switched over to like a therapist that specializes in PTSD.
I had to switch too.
Yeah.
At the end of a session, I was like, I feel like my therapist needs a therapist right now. Well, my first one at the end of that first my last appointment with my first therapist, I had been rambling for a while, and I remember she was just kind of blank, and it had been silent for a little bit, and I
She couldn't handle
finally
it.
I asked her, I was like, so like, do you have any advice? like
hit me
we've
with it,
unpacked everything. Like, do you want to tell me how to put it back away now? Like, what do we do?
Yeah.
And I remember her just saying to me, she paused and she goes, I'm gonna have to look into that for you. And I'm like, she actually recommended a different therapist.
Have you ever been like telling someone like stuff that's happened and they're like, wow, I can't believe you've been through all that. And you're like, what? This is normal.
Have you ever,
what are you talking about?
Well, have you ever been where you're like rambling stuff off, and like, at least I've said it to people, or like specifically my therapist, I'm like talking about my childhood or talking about things that have happened. She's like, Hannah, that's abuse.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, that my mom said that was normal. Like, that's just what I get. Like, Hannah, that's abuse.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, sit
That
down.
reminds me of the story of the girl that was on Nickelodeon. I forgot her name. She's a blonde.
Say
She
which
was
one? I feel like they.
but like the one that wrote a book. What's her name?
Jeanette McCurdy.
Yeah. So she also said that too, that she talked to her therapist and was like, that's abuse. And she was like, no, my mom loves me.
Yeah, no, there's no way. And you're like,
Yeah.
like my whole life, I thought that was normal.
Yeah. Well, because it was your normal.
Yeah. It's really messed up. And I feel like too, like, you know, your childhood and stuff like that, it makes you get drawn towards.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing I was going to
Other
say is I
people.
didn't realize until starting therapy. I strongly believe everybody should go to therapy, even if you think you don't need it. Like, better be proactive about it. But what was I saying? I lost track.
That you feel like everybody needs therapy because.
But before that,
Oh, because like when you're childhood, like when you're around the narcissists and stuff,
Yes.
and then like when you get older, you get attracted to narcissists,
So
and you
that-
don't realize that like
it's like that trauma bond.
But that's where it starts, because our parent, like for me at least, I backtracked it, because I remember when I finally went back to therapy after my last abusive relationship, I went into therapy with a list of things I thought was wrong with me. Like, I was not trying to prove to anybody I was okay. I was like, fix me.
Yeah.
And so,
So you're not a narcissist.
but like, I mean, we traced it back to where like I learned, here I was thinking that was my first narcissist.
Yeah.
Turns out it was just my worst one.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
they showed that I like, they can't diagnose somebody without them being there, but I had showed signs of narcissistic abuse from my childhood. So that was a learned thing. So like, they have that saying where people tend to like gravitate towards people that feel like home.
Yeah.
Well, that's great if you came from a healthy home.
Yeah.
But if you didn't come from a healthy home and somebody feels like home to you and you want different, you should get out.
Yeah.
Like, you should get out.
Kind of.
That's a good advice.
Yeah,
Right there.
kind of like going off what you're saying though. I know borderline personality disorder is like something that, like usually children get it when they were raised by like narcissists or put in like narcissistic like situations and everything like that. I always thought it was funny because my ex was the one who told me that I probably had borderline
And you can get that
personality
from with a
disorder.
narcissist. It's true. It's like lack of identity. You don't know who you are because you've been told who you are.
He told
for too
me,
long.
he was like, I think you have borderline personality disorder because my ex had borderline personality disorder. And I was
what
like,
qualifies you?
yeah.
Sir,
So at the time, I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you have it because I gave it to the last girl I was with.
Exactly. At the time, I was like, oh my God, I love this man. He's so smart.
He's just looking out for me.
Oh, yeah,
Like he's
smart,
looking out for me.
alright.
And now I'm like, no.
He knew
like,
exactly what I had because he gave it to me.
Because he was, because he
They
gave
know
it to
how to
me.
pick them.
Oh my God.
It's not necessarily that he gave it to you. It's they know how to pick
Yeah,
'em.
and he knew exactly, like, he knew, like, I'm the only child, you know, I'm the only grandchild, like, I'm the only family member who moved out of, like, my small town that I'm from, like, it was just me out here. And
you're
he
already
knew that.
isolated. It was less work.
He knew that.
Yeah,
And like
like,
there would be times where like I'd be like, let's go visit my family, and he would always something would always come up where
an excuse.
he could never go visit my family. And then
how are you with somebody for years and they haven't met your mother or your father? Like if you're getting along with your mother, like for me, like, you've been with them 4 years and they've never been to a family gathering. They think you're making up your boyfriend.
We were together. We were together 3 years, and I think he went to like 2 or 3 family gatherings, and I went to one of his, and I thought it was this is really fucked up too. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna start crying. But he would like
let it out. It's okay.
He would like tell me that he would like have like Easter with his family, and like I would go over to his house, and like I think that we were doing like Easter together, and then like he would leave, and like I would just sit at his house, and he would come back and he would bring me a plate back. You know, but like he would never invite me to like any of like his family like gatherings or like anything like that. And then like one of the reasons I found out was
serious.
Yeah,
like,
he was cheating on me too. Yeah, I found out he was cheating on me, but like it was just stuff like that, like inviting me over to his house and being like, "Hey, we're cooking out," and then showing up and he didn't even have like food for me. Like he'd have like a steak for everyone else that was there, but for me, he would be cutting off little slivers of food and feeding it to me.
You didn't put that on
like a freaking dog.
Yeah,
oh my
bro.
god!
My ex had like would take me to like his mom's side of the family things, and would take his other girlfriend to his like the other side of the family.
Wow.
So it was like I had never met that other. I mean, I'd met him like early in the relationship, but then it was he's like, just don't talk to them anymore, and I just listened. And I never knew why until after the fact. And then, like, I found out he was splitting his... I got to...
Yeah, I started realizing that when he would be like, "Oh, didn't you meet so-and-so?" And I'm like, no, I've never met this person before in my life. He's like, "No, I swear I brought you there." I'm like...
Wrong
must be your other girlfriend.
Literally wrong girlfriend. And, like, I would say stuff like that, but then I would be just so gaslit. You know what I mean?
Gaslighting.
Oh, actually, this just reminded me. So, like, one time, So, like, we had problems, like, this woman that he was seeing, like, before me or whatever. And he was cheating on me.
And all the exes are crazy, right?
Yeah.
They're all crazy.
Exactly.
Stay away. Don't you dare talk to them because they're insane. They're going to hate you.
So he was cheating on me with her. And, like, she posted a picture, like, inside, like, his house or something like that. And, like, I screenshot it and sent it to him. He's like, "Oh, that was from months ago." And, like, just, like, shit like that. Yeah. And, like, I would just, like, believe him. You know what I mean? Right. He even had her lie for me. One of the most fucked up things that ever happened was me and him had been together for, like, 4 months. She had texted me and was like, "I'm going to be going on a vacation with him in May." And I was like, "No, the fuck you're not. Like, we're obviously together. Like, you know what I mean? No, we're not." So then, like, 4 months later comes along and, like, I get a text message because, like, I, like, said to him, I'm like, you know, "You're going on this trip. It's supposed to be with your guy friends. Like, this bitch better not be going still." He's like, "No, she's not going. She's not going." Like, we were beefing because I'm like while he, like, she texted me too and was like, "I'm not going on the vacation. I promise. I don't want to come in between your guys' relationship. Blah, blah, blah. Like, I just want him to be happy. I just want him to have fun." And I'm like, "Okay, girl, thank you so much for understanding." Like, you know what I mean? Like, thank you. I really believed her.
About you?
And then he went and picked her up and brought her out to the airport. And then he was sitting there sending me nudes while he was on vacation with her, literally sending me nudes, like sexting me and shit like that while he was on vacation with her. And the only reason I found out is because he was taking a picture and he took a picture of like the sunset and I saw her and the reflection of his fucking sunglasses, bro.
Don't you hate when you get to that crazy point when you just said it, you just outed yourself a little. I'm gonna super out you. When you get to the point that you're checking reflections in sunglasses, girl, you should have already left.
I was like,
you should have already left, but I've been there.
Who is that bitch?
Right.
Like, I'm like, who is that? You know, and he's like, "Oh, I swear to God on my children's life that she's not with me." Swore on his children's life,
check your children's
bro.
pulse, okay?
Exactly. Exactly. That was the part that got me the most. Is like, you literally lied on your children's life over this bitch. Oh, to me,
that's what had me fucked up. Is like their ability to look you in the eyes or like conjure tears, like. That's what like shattered my trust.
I didn't even know my ex had kids until 3 months into our relationship. Damn. That's how much of a fucking narcissist he was. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Yeah, that's how much of a narcissist that man was. He had no pictures of his kids anywhere in his whole entire house. He didn't even put one picture up until I said something. Actually, I don't even think it was me that said something. I think it was his other girl that said something.
Damn.
And got the picture for him. Yeah.
That's freaking
Isn't that great? They're always
crazy.
posting screenshots.
Yeah.
They're like, he seems like such a good dad. Really hasn't seen her in a year. Like,
Yeah.
like really, he just dropped his rights last
Yeah,
week and
that's
deleted all
fucked
the
up.
pictures of her off his Instagram.
Dude,
See, but I
that's
would
so fucked
prefer
up.
that.
though.
Like, I would prefer that only because it's like, if you effed me up this much mentally and we were in a relationship, imagine how you're going to F up my child who shares your DNA, who's vulnerable, who has, like, kids want to make their parents happy, and you're going to use that against
I think that's what tore me apart, like, I don't know about you, but the most is, like, for me, it was like, I knew that there were plenty of points in our relationship that I protected him when I should have turned him in. And then it was like, once we were done, there was still my daughter. And it was like, that was where going through the custody thing, and because I was like, I cannot bear watching her go through everything that I just went through. And I should have done something about it sooner.
But we don't see it.
Because it's just
no,
tough
like I
when there's
said,
kids
like,
involved.
it started with the pinching, you know. Then it was pulling my hair through a window. Then it was backhanding me, giving me bloody noses, you know.
And it
then
started to escalate,
holding
like that.
me down, you know. Then like he zip tied my hands before, like my hands if he had been zip tied together before. Yeah.
And some people like that in a freaky sense, but not if you're just doing it out of anger. Like, there has to be consent.
You should be able to breathe. You should not be being strangled, like, unconscious.
No,
or like consent. Like, this was not consented.
Yeah.
Like, even like restrained, like someone who has never been restrained before, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're holding them down, so like they can't move their arms and stuff, they're gonna start freaking out.
Or just like, if you're saying no, stop. Like, there's a time in the, like, if you're having an argument and there's like, don't try and play, well, you like being choked. Not during an argument, sir.
No.
Like, time and place. Like,
like I've been flat out like choked unconscious.
Same.
So yeah, and that was probably like, I'm not a religious person at all, but like during that moment, I remember like sitting there playing
to all the gods.
No, I swear to God,
I got chills because
I went to church for like, I went to like, what was it, like Awanas or whatever, like every Wednesday I went to Bible school, and I remember like Romans 3:10, as it is written, there's no one is righteous, not even one. You know, and like for me, like that meant like no one's better than God, you know, like no one's stronger than God. I'm not really a religious person, but it's just like, this man's not going to take me out. And like that's what I was saying to myself, you know, like no one's stronger than him. And then I remember even saying like just please protect me from like the devil and like, or a wolf in sheep's clothing and shit like that. And I remember like after he had like choked me out and like I was saying that, like he kind of like, you know, like took a step back, because I was just like terrified, like just absolutely like just, you know, terrified. Like, yeah, it's just really messed up.
Yeah, it is though, because like it just brings me back, and like how much I feel like it's so good that I think distance, I mean you guys can like, you know, put in your input to distance is what starts to allow you to actually see, because you're not like chasing them in that moment like all day, you know, even just one day. I remember like my ex's thing that she does still to this day is like the silent treatment, and like super silent all the time. So it's like, yeah, of course they don't look crazy and I look crazy, because I just want to actually have you say something, anything. And it's like back then the silent treatment was like the main like way of abuse.
That's manipulation. It's manipulation.
And then it
like
always gets turned on you, because the only way to then break that, like, I mean, you need to go no contact if you're trying to really be done. Like the silent treatment, if you're trying to fix things, is not healthy, but you need to go no contact. Like that's the only, like for me, I couldn't go full no contact in the beginning, because I had to still communicate sometimes about our daughter.
Right.
And that was like, I feel like what made it take so much longer is like having, like, a lot of people can't relate, and I'm sure all of you can, like seeing somebody that you're not healed from yet, like the way your heart just sinks out your ass, like you're just shaking, you can't breathe. All of a sudden you've got the sweats, and it's just seeing them, or like just their voice. I remember it was probably like last month, I just saw my ex out of the corner of my eye in Iowa City, and I was with a group of friends in line, like we were getting ready. You were there. You were there. I ducked right behind you. I saw him.
I saw it in your face.
We were all
like
fine, and then all of a sudden I saw him. I hid behind her, and I took off. I ran down an alley in heels just to avoid this person, because I was like, I'm having a good night tonight. Like,
And we were all like,
what happened? I was like, that's fine. Like, I'll meet you back at the Airbnb. Like,
yeah. And we talked about it later, so I understood. But
I was like, sorry if that seemed strange. That just was no longer a safe place for me.
Yeah, it makes sense with someone who like understands, and that, like you're saying too, like I get triggered every time I have to see this Brad. Like every time, and I don't like hearing anything because luckily now I don't have to be the middleman. But sometimes I do. Like this week, I had a.
That's where you still have to every once in a while.
Yeah, and it's
with yours,
like
and that's what's hard.
It sucks because I'm like, is it their energy or is it just like the triggers of just seeing the person and like remembering? Because okay, this is another thing that I realized too is like after the relationship, like once we ended, I kind of, or maybe it's just me, because I kind of like will forget bad things. Like my brain will black out those things. So after the relationship, I felt like I was fine. And I'm like, I just feel like these last 3 years were just like a dream. Until I get triggered. And then I'm crying. I can't stop. I'm feeling guilty because I put my husband through it. I put my kids through it. And I put my family through it because I didn't listen.
That guilt is heavy.
And it feels heavy as hell, especially
once you get that kind of like the veil lifted and you realize all those people that care about you were right and they have been exhausting themselves trying to help you, and you've just been making it worse and pushing it away, and now all of a sudden you're just like you were right, and I'm sorry that I've just drained and hurt so many people around me, that I said hurtful things to people I care about because I was defending somebody else. It's like I'm sorry. Like I hurt and I feel guilty for all the people I hurt trying to protect the person that was hurting me.
I lost one of my best friends over like just choosing to stay in a relationship.
Yeah.
Like she was just like, girl, I can't take this anymore. And like I remember like coming at her and being like, you know, you're a shitty friend.
Yeah.
I would never like, but it was like I literally was going insane. Like you were saying, like hurting yourself. I wanted to die. Like I literally wanted to die because I would try and leave him. And when I would leave him, he would go and reach out to other people that I would be seeing and stuff like that. And tell him like, oh, she beat my kid. She has herpes. She has this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like,
the rumors. Like mine told the whole town I was a prostitute. Yeah. And I was like, I think I'd have a much nicer car if I was a prostitute, sir. Like,
for real.
Like, come on.
My bank account is not giving prostitute right now.
Yes. And it was just like, it was shit like that. And so I felt so trapped. And so like, you know, he'd be like, no one like wants to deal with you. No one would understand you and stuff. So then I'd be like, oh my God, this is going to be the rest of my life. I'm not going to be with him.
You believe it at that point. Like they become almost like your inner voice. Like all of a sudden, everything they've said, like you're trying to beat or do better. So it's like I remember my ex had made, all of a sudden their little comments like stick with you. Like my ex had said something like, you look better when like your skin's not broke out. I hyper just fixated. My life became fucking skincare. Or like he pointed out a girl. Hair. He pointed out a girl that I worked with eye makeup one day. He's like, her eye makeup looks really good. Like you should wear yours like that.
Yeah, and then when you address it, it'd be like, wait, why'd you say that? Well, you want me to be honest, right?
It's like, why are you looking at her eye makeup?
Like, but now you're making me seem like I'm jealous. Okay, first of all, I am not jealous whatsoever. I love sharing. So don't try to make me out to be like if I'm jealous. Bro, calm down. Just because you mad because I caught you in your lies. Because this girl used to be like, oh, they're my friends. Oh, but you still haven't told them about me and it's been how many months? Oh, but I can't have friends when they know all about you?
How come I can't hang out with you and your friend then?
Yeah.
Like, or he'd tell me all his girlfriends were like gay. And I was like, oh, that's weird. You have a lot of gay friends. Like, you know, do you have any like male friends? Like, any? Or are they just all gay females? Like, that's it. Like,
with mine, all of his guy friends were just as bad. Like, just as bad.
That was the other thing I found is like, you can't even trust people in their circle because like I believed him for so long because his mom, his like whole family, all of his friends, like we worked together. So it was like everybody was backing him up. They'd be like, oh yeah, no, like he's totally like, he is where he should be. Yeah. Like I got in the habit of calling his one brother that couldn't lie to me. I'd be like, yo, like, is he home? Be like, no, he's not here right now. He went and took his brother's phone and blocked my number on his brother's phone so that I could ask.
Oh my goodness.
That's what, oh my God. But like even his mom would would cover for him, and I'm
See,
like,
talk about
that's
triggers.
cringe. Like, that's cringe. Like, you are helping your mother. Your mother is helping you cheat on me.
Yeah.
Like, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Where do you think he learned it from?
Yeah, he actually, mine too, took my phone one night when I was sleeping. I didn't have passwords or anything on my phone at the time. Like, I trusted him, you know?
Right.
Went through and went on my Facebook
She didn't
and
let me go through her
blocked his other girls. That's what, like, mine did. He went and blocked his other girls and shit.
That's
so when I was posting that we
funny.
were on vacation and stuff, like, they weren't seeing any of that shit.
Yeah.
Like,
See, they're smart. They're smart
dude.
with this.
Yeah, I found out too. Like,
How'd you find out yours was cheating?
Oh,
You don't have to
I
share.
posted him on the Is This Your Man Says 319. That's when I found out the first time.
I want to see those.
The first time I posted him on there. No, dude, because all those bitches were coming at me.
What?
Like, he lied to me, bro. He lied to me. He literally
Like, he
lied to me.
aced narcissism.
I was, because I told y'all I was in a whole entire relationship. So I was honest with him. I was like, you know, like, I'm in this relationship, but I'm starting to catch feelings for you, dude. And he was like, this bitch is crazy that I'm fucking with. I don't want to be with her. We're not dating at all. And then so I posted him because, like, I just had a feeling, because, like, I had just joined that group, and, like, I just had a feeling. And then I posted him. I found out of 2 other women, including me, that he was talking to. Yeah. And I ended up staying with him because for some reason he convinced me that, like, I won the prize because I was still going on vacations,
And at that point, you
money,
want it. And at that
blah,
point,
blah,
you
blah.
want it. And looking back, you're like, why did I want that community?
You know what I want?
Dick, fucking dirty ass, give it to anybody, man.
Yeah,
Oh
and
my
I was
gosh.
like, I got so mad. Like, he would always be like, "Oh, you're jealous of these bitches," and I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm jealous."
At the time, I was.
Well, because
at the
I'm
time,
getting
the
my ass
mindset
beat,
we were
though.
in. Yeah.
Like, not
that was
only
the other
that,
thing I was
I'm
like,
getting my ass beat, and they just get to have the fun side of you.
That's the one.
Like,
I was
they
like,
get
why
the
am I the
fun
only one
side of
getting
you.
hit? Like,
Exactly.
why am I the only one getting hit right now?
Exactly.
Like, what
Can
the
we at least
fuck?
share that
Because he
too?
loves me most.
Exactly. Yeah. That's so fucked up, dude.
It's true.
That's so fucked up because that is so true.
Yeah.
And at the
Like,
time, you think that.
that's how
Looking
you
back,
feel.
you're like, you're embarrassed by who you were at that point.
Yeah,
But
like,
in that moment, like, I really had myself convinced he's hitting me because I'm his favorite.
He'd be like, I never introduced my grandma to anyone but
Gaslit.
you
Right?
before. Like, I've never done this before. Like, I've never loved anyone like I've loved you,
You haven't
before.
introduced
Like,
this grandma to anybody,
Like-
but you introduced your other grandma.
So the thing with mine is like we were really close.
Your dad's side of the family.
We were really close at first, got along with her family until we were starting to uncover a lot of things. And then she was starting to tell me that they didn't like me. And like, so then I never wanted to go over there because I'm like, well, they don't like me. But then I was sad because I'm like, I'm very likable.
Yeah, you're very
Because
likable. I'm like, that's easily
I'm like, who
cap.
wouldn't like me? You're probably telling them stuff not to like me.
And they were. They do.
They do.
Yep.
And so like the whole, like every time we argued, you're the victim. And you, like what you said earlier, they always put on this victimizing thing. They're so good at making people feel bad for
Somehow
them.
you'll try to
So
approach them
good.
with something, and by the end of it, it's somehow your fault. You're like, how did I?
Yeah, how did
why
I
was
be-
it my fault that you did that? Like
My
Didn't I approach
biggest
you?
thing, for real, my biggest thing that she used to say when she was like emotional, because she said she couldn't take the relationship, but it's also like the door goes 2 ways, just saying.
Yeah.
But it's also like you're just trying to make me feel bad for being with my husband along when you're with him when I go to work, but we don't need to talk about that, right? Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And
okay.
then she'd be like, I don't deserve this. I deserve better. I used to just stare at her like, wait, what do you bring to the table exactly?
Yeah.
You work.
and that'd be
Crickets.
so much complicated, like because there's more, like you had more people in
More
like,
people.
your group where it's like if she's threatening to leave, it's like does she understand you're not getting the boot? Like it's her that's gonna get
Yeah.
the boot, like you. Like,
Yeah.
she's already.
And so when we were going through all of that, I was almost going to divorce my husband because I thought he was the problem. And so I like told myself I separated from him and he wasn't taking it. He's like, no, we're not separated. I'm like, I stated we're separated right now. So I was technically celibate while I was married because I was so mentally effed up that I decided I can't give it up to him, but I'm also not giving it up to her. But I also wanted it from her because I wanted that dopamine, like we were talking about.
I remember I read somewhere and I laughed so hard because it said something. It was like a meme, and it was like, was the relationship good or was that, or no,
Was
the sex good, or was that the only dopamine hit towards the end that you were getting from that relationship? And I was like, oh my
because
God.
Look back at it.
I was like, that was probably
wasn't
towards the end towards the end of your relationship was the only time you were getting that dopamine hit when you were having sex. Yeah, and that's what made the sex so good. Because you were getting a giant rush of dopamine.
Because I remember the beginning of our relationship, shit was not that spicy.
Right, I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm gonna taught that man how to have sex, okay? Like, stop it.
I literally taught this girl, spicy. Like, bro, I'm so experimental, and especially like when you're with a girl, you kind of just want to experiment things like that you've seen online or that you heard people talking about. You're like, oh, let's try this position because it's very different, right? There's no penis involved, so you got to get
my head like I know,
experiment, right? Like, yeah. The ones who know. Hannah's straight just as a freaking. It's not even like that either. Like,
I'll have to look it up.
That would be so difficult. She's gonna go back home and she's gonna be like, hey Choppy, so I realized I think I'm gay now because I watched porn and that looks really interesting. I'll be like, girl, don't play with me. Don't play with me, okay? I know where you live.
Like that night when I dressed, what did I dress like? I wore my stepdaddy outfit. You're like, Hannah.
Yeah.
Like,
how about did we switch roles? Because I look a little more girly today and you look like me. I'm like, But no.
So many girls swiped up on my story that day.
They're like, oi, papi. You're like, hey, daddy. Like, no, I was just kidding. I'm not gay. But like going to that is like, you would think you would want to experiment more, right? No, we just kept it very simple. And I remember even after the fact that it'd just be like staring up at the ceiling. Like,
well, you start to get really insecure because it's like they start to like just pick you apart as a person. And so it's like, and eventually you don't want to, you're walking on eggshells because you don't
literally
like, you're just staying in your safe moves.
I mean,
I couldn't speak up.
For me, it was like we would do drugs. Like we would do a whole bunch of drugs because we would just be sitting there chasing that high. Like we would. Yeah. And it was bad. Like it was bad. You know what I mean? Like
in the relationships, I realized looking back, I did a lot of things I never thought I would do. And so I became sober and they didn't like it and were getting mad at me because I wanted them to be sober. And now I'm controlling because I want better for you. Yeah. And now your whole family of alcoholics thinks I'm controlling because I don't want you to drink.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're being hypocritical when you ask someone to stop doing drugs because there's kids. You're like, dude, you cannot be showing up on my front porch rolling on a Wednesday night.
Literally.
Like, I've got kids sleeping upstairs. Get out of here.
I used to have to take my kids when she would come home drunk. They would be watching TV, chilling, living their best life, right? She would come in and I noticed it. And I told my kids, I'm like, hey guys, sorry, I have to turn the TV off, go upstairs and go to bed. Yep. Why, Mom? Why? And I was upfront with them. She is drunk and I don't want you guys to be around it.
And isn't it hard when you have to, like, because I feel like you try to keep it, at least in my case, like like I went years where the kids had no idea. Like I really did, like, you know, everything was fine. Like even my family, everybody would have thought the relationship was fine. And then it's like what sucks is like you always tell, I mean, at least I told myself in the beginning, like where my boundaries were, like the things I would, like when I would stop, you know, it was like if a man ever laid his hands on me, if he ever cheated on me, you have those in the beginning and you're like, that counts for this person too. I would leave. But by the time it gets to that point, you are so deep in it. You are making so many excuses that things that today I will tell you I would never let happen. And before I was in it, I would have told you I would never let happen. Mm-hmm. Like, for me, it was like the first time my kids saw him lay hands on me, I was done. Because I was able to hide it before then. Like, the kids saw me deteriorating as a person, but they didn't really know what was going on. They didn't hear any, like, I made sure they weren't around or seeing any of the other stuff. But it was like there was one night that he was over and the kids were there. We had been together for years. We had a baby together at this point, you know, so it's not like, why was you at your house? Like, but, you know, things took a turn and the kids saw. And it was, I remember after that, I was like, it's no longer affecting just me. I can't hide this anymore. Like, that was my big
That's what it was for me,
But I asked myself, if I didn't have kids, would I have ever left?
Yeah.
Like, would I have ever left?
Man, that's so true.
See, I had no kids. And so, like,
it was harder to get out.
No, like literally the last time I left him, I tried like killing myself.
Yeah.
Like that's really like what it took.
I'm so glad you did.
Like,
I know, because we wouldn't be sitting here today.
It just becomes such a, like, I've never realized that emotional or mental I mean, you're in physical pain, like never at another point. And again, I had a pretty traumatic childhood, but I can say during that point that I was with my ex, like there's never been another time that I found myself just like fetal position, just like screaming at the ceiling, just because your brain is so scrambled. You are so confused. You are physically, mentally, emotionally, in my case, financially, just depleted, defeated. And you're just like staring at the ceiling, like whatever you believe in, like help, like you said, help me. Like,
cause
I truly, well, they talk about that light at the end of the tunnel. And I know for me, I couldn't see a light. It just felt like it. Yeah. I remember just asking myself and telling myself, like, is this ever going to end? And it felt like it was just the same cycle. Because then you start to recognize that cycle and you can feel it coming back again. Yes. Like, I know he'd disappear. And I could start to even just feel like he was going to come back again. Yeah.
Like what I told you recently, I'm like, why do I want this person's validation? Yeah. Still. And then I realized, because I was speaking out loud to somebody else, I'm like, it's not the fact that I want their validation, is I want them to realize that they did wrong and to apologize, but I never will get that. Yeah. I never will get that,
I'll say the only thing that helped me get over that, because that was my biggest thing. I was like, I want this person to know how much they hurt me. Or you can't even put it into words. You don't even know if you want an apology. It's like you almost want them to just confirm. For me, it was like, I want you to confirm some of the things that you did.
Because the apology is going to be fake regardless. So it's like, I don't really even care.
I want you to just like at least confirm. Like, tell me to my face, like, you did these things or not. But like for me, the only way I could get over that, because it was just like that same loop of me feeling like I was over it, and then just feeling like I needed answers that I was never gonna get. And it wasn't until like I fell down the rabbit hole of research. Like I researched everything there was on narcissism, and I have to be honest, I started researching it because when I first started, I wanted to prove that he wasn't one. Yeah. Because I thought if he wasn't a narcissist, there was a chance. Like if there wasn't a narcissist, like the Beauty and the Beast syndrome, like I can change him. Yeah. Like for me, he'll become a prince.
You know what? I kind of hate that part.
Don't even get me started on the Disney like films from our day, like Sleeping Beauty. It's not okay to kiss me when I'm asleep. Like, don't do it. Like,
I don't know about that. I'd be like it. Like, wake me up.
If we're together, but if you're just some man that came upon me in a tower and I've never met you before, maybe don't.
But see, that's where I think I've always been confused, because I get that with my husband. He was that bad boy. He was like this bad boy little,
we just
like,
had that talk the other day, you know, like why do I like
that
boys?
picture of like where girls will get with the bad boy because they want to be that one that changes them. I did. So now every relationship I've gone with, and while being with him, I kind of believe that. Turn good yeah,
you got like, lucky once. You're not gonna get lucky twice.
Right. So I'm done with that now.
Yeah, because your husband wanted to be fixed, though. That's probably the thing. True. You know what I mean? He wanted that next.
And that's another thing I feel like anybody has to accept when you're in a relationship, whether it's abusive or not. Like even if it's not an abusive relationship, but it's a relatively healthy relationship. Like if you're with somebody and you're wanting them to do certain things or be a certain way, and you've communicated that whichever way, healthy, not healthy, like at a certain point, if it's not gonna work, it's not gonna work. Like you have like they're going to like that's what I was gonna say. Like they will do it. Like if that person loves you and they want it to work, like the things that you're asking them to do, they'll do. Otherwise, it's
because you also just can't change who people are like naturally, and sometimes people are who they are.
I think it's hard though sometimes when you invest that time and energy into anybody, like it's hard to accept when it's just not going to work out. Like that person's not. Like there's certain things like even my most recent ex, like we talked about this and I really said, I was like, he's not a bad guy. Yeah. Like he was not abusive. He was not. Everyone wanted me to like trash on him or like say bad things. Like I can't. I was like, there was certain things I wanted him. Like he doesn't want kids. I already have 3. I'm not just gonna like put him in a basket and send him down the river. Like like it's a non-negotiable for my relationship. So or for my family. So like it came to a point like he didn't want kids. Like it was just he can't change.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not gonna I literally told him, I was like, I'm not gonna ask you to be okay with having kids. Like I wouldn't even want to change that about you.
No, and
like,
you want someone who's gonna who wants to be there.
I think that's another thing that you have to accept, you know is like, do you really want to change somebody, or do you want them to change for you because they want to?
Yeah. Do you want your kids having like a half-assed dad, you know, or do you want someone who like really wants to fucking be there.
Yeah. I was like, listen, I'm trying to be a wife one day, and if you aren't like already tearing up at the thought of me walking down the altar to you, we can just stop wasting our time now.
See, and that was the scary part in my relationship. So when me and my husband were going like through our separation and stuff, I was gonna get a place with her because I'm like, well, I'm just continuing this relationship.
Can you imagine how isolated you?
Exactly, and that's where I started realizing.
I'm like, oh my god, like
and like that's what I started realizing because I was the one looking for the places. I was the one doing all the work.
Yeah.
And whenever I sent you places, now you're not like interested, or you're just like you pick, and I'm just like,
well, and then it's another like
job
elaborate thing to keep you going. It's something to get you excited about. It's something to keep you on the hook.
But they weren't that smart because it made me actually turn away. Because I was like, well, I got 4 kids. Like, we would have 4 kids all together. So, like, it's expensive. I already got the house.
Yeah, you're
so I don't have to pay
who's paying for this? You're like, my husband's paying the bills. Are you gonna? Because I'm not.
Like, well, I was working. So I'm like, but are you going to take care of the kids?
Was she chipping in and doing her part too? Or was she asking you to drop the support of your husband and then just do most of it?
Yeah. And then I'm like, so I'm like, well, might as well. This is where I was like realizing what's best for my kids. I started thinking, I didn't think about myself.
We have to be kind of careful with your situation too, because you're still actively going through it. We don't want to stir the pot there.
I don't know. Because I'm not really a part of the case. Well, we'll see.
You gotta deal with that though. Someone drops in the link, and you gotta deal with that and pick up.
Oh well.
I don't know what I can and can't talk about. But that's the thing, they didn't give me. But we were. So I'm like, I could tell my story, right? So
we're not giving names though, so we're fine.
When we were going through all that, I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna stay at my kid's house. At the end of the day, this is their house. We'll be roommates. We'll have to learn how to get along because at the end of the day, I'm not going to put my kids through that.
Yeah.
I stayed upstairs in my own room. We just would talk, like me and my husband would just talk about the kids. He still wanted to work things out, but I was still trying to figure things out. So he would still come up to me. I'm like, can we just not talk about it? Can I just like chill? Yeah. And then when I would tell her about my day or whatever, I'd be like, oh yeah, I love sleeping with the kids. Like I love that they're with me all the time. Like she would not like that. So I started picking on those things. I was like, she's not going to like that I want the kids to wake up with me. She's not going to like that they're going to come and wake me up in the morning getting ready for school. She's not going to like this. She's not going to like that. And I'm like, if I go live with her, I'm going to lose that bond that I want to have with my kids. So then that's when I finally was like, hey, so like, what do you think is going to be our future from now on? And like she didn't really say anything, or like she was not into marriage while we were all 3 together. I was like, okay, so you can't marry 2 people, so that's cool. But now that I'm like going through this like separation, now you want to get married?
Yeah,
that was scary. And the fact too that she said, because I was like, I don't think I could still mess with him if I'm not, like if we move out or whatever, because I always used to think that, right, that I'd be one of those baby mamas, because I've only ever, like my husband's the only man I've ever been with, so I'm like, yeah, I'd probably, sneak it in a little bit here and there because I'm comfortable. But then myself of who I am, I'm like, I need a connection to be intimate with somebody, and the connection was not there because we were going through it. And then she goes to tell me, oh, I probably would be, and I just looked at her.
That's not how it works.
She's like, well, you're not going to be married anymore, so why does it?
Red flag. We need that guy with the red flag here. And
I was like, I just stayed quiet because I was walking on eggshells. I couldn't stick up for myself.
You're better than me. No, like one of the big things.
We're not together. You wouldn't be cheating on me, right?
One of the things I always joke about is
husband. We're together.
One of the reasons I got my ass beat was because I don't know how to keep my mouth shut. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, dude. I don't sit around. I don't let shit like that happen. Like, I can't. Yeah, like, I'm gonna say something. Makes sense. Like, I was just raised always to be like outspoken.
Like, they say there's 2 different kinds of victims, and again, they say there's 2 different kinds of a lot of things, and there's actually like a lot of different kinds of them. There is. But like a way to like simplify it is there's like the perfect victim, and the perfect victim is somebody that just like sits tight and takes it. Yeah. I am not.
I was like I
am not. I am talking back with my last breath. Yeah. Like I'm getting strangled unconscious and I'm saying you're gonna have to kill me. Yeah. Like I'm not going to do what you tell me to do. Like you are not going to gain submission through force. Like fucking try me.
Yeah. Like, that's part of why I stayed quiet, because they're a boxer. And so I was like, she could F me up.
Yeah.
I don't want to risk it. And in the beginning of the relationship, like I was going in for a kiss and she literally bit my lip so bad that I had a mark. And I wish I got a picture because I could have had that, you know?
Yeah.
I say my ex used to hold me down and take my phone and delete any evidence I had. So
See,
it was
that's
like,
what he would like. So like another thing
I was
mine
scared
did-
for the evidence because I was scared that she was going to find it and get mad at
Yeah,
me.
another thing mine did was he would like spank me. Like literally like a child.
Damn.
Like dude, like that was like yeah. And
like
then
a child?
yeah,
You're
like
Like over the
like a
knee and
punishment?
yeah, like he was
You're
like
like, again, sir, time and place.
Yeah, so,
like,
like,
this is weird.
yeah,
Like,
and he like flat out even told me like, you know, like you want to act like a child because like I was mad because what happened was he had taken me on a vacation and he was
I might be
like
acting like a child, but you're acting like a psychopath.
yeah,
Wow.
like yeah, but he had taken me on a vacation while
He
we
took
were
daddy
there.
serious.
He was like, I've never been here before. He was like, that place looks so cool. Like this place looks so cool. And then like 3 weeks later, I'm like going through his Facebook profile or whatever, and I like see one of his pictures, and it's a picture of him and his ex, and this place that he was sitting there acting like he had never been before. He'd been there with his ex, and like he brought her.
You're like short-term memory.
And then so like I
Wow.
started freaking out. Like I started freaking out. And then that's when he was like, if you want to act like a child, you know, like some other stuff happened in between them. But he was like, if you want to act like a child, you're gonna get treated like a child. And then that's when he put me over his lap and started spanking me. And as soon as he did that, because you know when you're raised, like you're thinking of like spanking as like a punishment,
Right.
You don't realize that like that's someone hitting you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that is someone hitting you. And it took me a while after he spanked me, and then I remember being like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And I like went to call my parents, went to call my grandparents, and he took my phone out of my hand. But my grandparents, they heard it. Like cause it like she heard it. So like my grandma heard me like yelling, like screaming and being like telling him no and stuff like that. And then like I tried calling my cousin too. Like my cousin heard it too on the phone, like and everything. And like that was when like that spanking, that was the same day. Like everything else happened like that day. But yeah, but
That's where like it started to like deteriorate, would you say?
no, like that okay, so like yeah, the main reason like everything's going on, you know what I mean? Like that's happened in the beginning of the day. Like the spanking that happened early in the morning, and then shit just kept getting worse and worse, and it escalated into like him telling me that he was gonna kill me if I chose to go to the police and speak about what happened. Like his words were like, I will kill you before you ruin my life.
Yeah.
Like, and it just led up to there. And then we went like 4 or 5 months like without talking to each other or like anything like that. And then he convinced me, he told me he was gonna go back to therapy, or he was gonna go to therapy.
That's the cycle. That's when that cycle starts, and
he
you get
told
that
me-
time to fill your cup up, like replenish yourself, and then they circle back.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's like exactly what happened. And then that happened like 3 times, I think, before like the last time. When
Well, you did better than I, man.
Yeah.
I lived on that cycle for a good couple of years.
Well, I was with him for 3 years, but it wasn't like it wasn't until like the last like 2 years we were together where like it went into like the strangulation, to like the backhand, pulling my hair, like and stuff like that. Like it.
And that's what
took a
people need to
lot
understand too.
before it
Yeah, I
got
didn't
there.
start bad in the beginning.
Right.
You got to try not to remember the beginning parts because that was such an unrealistic. Like that's I always like the thing I had to keep telling myself was I fell in love with a character.
Yeah.
Like the person I fell in love with is not real. Like that person does not exist. Like that beginning stage, that is a character.
I remember
like,
screaming to him like, you tricked me.
Yeah.
Like I remember screaming to him like, you tricked me. Like you are not the person that like, dude. And it's like really sad because I would think about like he bought me like this pink heart necklace and stuff, and we would get in arguments and I would put that necklace on. I'd be like, think about like that man, you know, think about the one who gave you this necklace. Don't think about the one who did this to you. Don't think about who did this to
self-torture.
you.
You try to think of you focus on the good things because you're still getting those
Or you
positive
blame it
dopamine
on
hits from it.
Other things like the substances.
Yeah.
I used to
You try
blame
to
it
find
on
anything else to blame because you want, like, even when I said I was at my very last ditch effort, I was researching narcissism to try and prove he wasn't one. You are grasping at straws, trying to just like you want to be the problem. Like that's why you let them blame you because you're like, I clearly can't control them. But if it's my fault, then I can change it. Then I can do something about it. And that's how it starts. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, everything's my fault. Let me just change everything. But that it's going to change as soon as you do. And it's a lose-lose situation.
Yeah. My ex would like literally be like, "Oh, you found out I cheated on you? Like, let me bring some drugs over and we can just have deep talks and talk about it all night."
Oh my goodness.
And stuff like that. Like he would like, yeah, like I said,
I'd be like, I'm done, and I'd be like, want to go on
crazy.
vacation?
Yeah. So he would be like, he like tried getting me like to microdose some shit, like and stuff like that. Just like, like, or yeah, let's go on vacation.
Yeah,
like there was even one time where the man gave me $1,000 cash when I found out he was cheating on me.
I wish my he just took from me.
Yeah.
That's the one thing he never gave me.
Damn it.
And like I said, though, I was like, when I met him, that's when I literally was sleeping on my friend's couch. Like I'd never gotten like any, attention like that. So like that's what
mine too.
Right. I was like,
so it's
everything
harder.
I had. Like came in with a backpack worth of shit.
Yeah.
Like
And one thing too is like now they're trying to I remember when we did start saying like, oh, well, why were you living with your sex offender brother? Like, you shouldn't have lived with him because you were the victim. And now you want to act like you weren't. But now you guys are like best friends and the whole family loves him. Like I
ever
don't
heard
know.
of Stockholm Syndrome?
Yeah.
Like, that's weird, but okay. Oh, but. And she tried to say like, oh, well, he gave me no choice but to be homeless. Girl, we were looking for places you could have signed up for one bedroom that we found. But why didn't you continue on with the paperwork? That's your fault. That's my fault. Why? Oh, but you decided to go put our child in that situation. Okay, that's our fault. Okay. So it's like they try to do that. Like,
well, they'll say
victimize.
say all kinds of stuff. I feel like the one thing like that I'll say, like one of the positives I got like out of this situation was I finally learned how to like I lost all fucks. Like I don't care what you think of me, because I remember just being so exhausted trying to keep up with the rumors, because like it made me sick. Like I wanted to correct all of them. I wanted to find every single person he'd lied to and share my side of the story. And I finally was like, you know what? I don't care if half of the city thinks I'm a fucking prostitute. I don't care if you think I'm crazy. Quote, leave me alone. Like, I'm not
better
like
by
the
myself.
people that know me know who I am. If you like, if you believe him and you think that he wasn't abusive, like cool, I got his mug on a mug shot. Like they don't arrest somebody for nothing.
Yeah.
But like, but if you believe whatever you want to believe, and I finally just had to like detach from that and let go. Like finally, like people would it would get to the point that people would slide into my DMs with stuff, and I'd be like, I wouldn't even open them. I was like, I don't want to know. Like, do you want? No, I don't. I don't want to know anything else.
For me, so like it's kind of like complicated. So when me and my ex started dating, he was seeing someone else. He didn't tell me this.
Right.
And then so when me and him like became official and like I thought he had like cut everything off like with this woman, I was getting text messages being like, your man's cheating on you, like blah blah blah, all this other crazy shit. I caught her slipping up one time. Like, you remember how Instagram used to have like your profile picture in the corner? So like she sent me a screenshot from an unknown number and her profile picture was in the corner. And she was like, oh, my Instagram account got hacked, like, and stuff like that. And tried saying like all this other shit or whatever. This woman is still harassing me. Like, cause after the last time me and him broke up, a week after he beat me and like strangled me unconscious, he went on vacation with her.
Yeah.
And so I messaged her and I was like,
and you're like, why am I the one getting hit? And she's the one getting vacation.
Yeah, exactly. And like I messaged her and I was like, are you with him because he did this to me? And I sent her pictures of my face and she just read it and didn't respond.
Because they don't believe it because they're getting the love bombing.
I know. So listen, so now this bitch literally is looking at my TikTok from her dog's accounts, like from her dog's TikTok.
You're like, wow, this dog is my biggest fan.
Like she has some like weird relationship going on with her ex-boyfriend. So her ex-boyfriend was stalking my accounts too.
It gets messy.
Like these people are like posting pictures of like fucking Smeagol with curly hair photoshopped on it, saying that it's like me and shit like that. And I'm like, and this is all because I decided to speak out because this man said he was gonna kill me.
But that's what's so weird though, is because it's like, why are all these people involved that have nothing to do with me? Like they're also miserable
for you.
Yeah. And I'm just I've honestly been like struggling. Like this was like yesterday, I think it was. And this guy was like, well, why are you looking at like my account? And it's like, what happened was me and him were messaging on Facebook. And like, you know, like when you go on like Messenger, like people's pictures come up on the top. So when he unblocked me, his name was like one of the first people that come up and it showed he was active. So I clicked on his name and like that was like the first thing that I seen. Yeah. And it was like, and this was before like I was telling like you know, the man that I've been seeing, I'm like, you know, I can see that this guy unblocked me on TikTok because he was coming up in the suggestions. But I was like, I don't want to click on his profile because I don't want these people to think that I'm like stalking them. You know what I mean? Because like this is what I've been accused of like doing, but in like reality, they're like sitting here making posts about me, like copying my posts like word for word. Like I posted like a picture of like my first tattoo. You know, and this woman the next day posts a picture of a tattoo she got done like 4 days ago.
And
like
see, that's
I
all
changed.
And it starts to make you crazy.
Dude,
Like, so you're starting to pay attention to things, and you
does.
eventually have to find it in yourself to just not even pay attention
That's like,
anymore.
yeah,
You're like,
that's
it doesn't-
like
But
what
it's
the
so
part
hard.
that
It
like,
finally got
I'm-
to a point for me where I was like, you know what? I feel bad for them that they're letting me be the main character of their life. Like,
dude,
your
I
life
realized that
lacks
too.
so much, like, you know, whatever that you are that focused on me.
exactly.
Like, whatever. I'm going to be the main character of my life, and if you want to watch, cool.
Exactly.
But, like,
that's
sad
how I
for
am
you.
like 90% of the time, you know, but like when other shit's like going on in your life and then it's like my grandma, you know, isn't like doing the best. And like yesterday she called me and was like, you know, you might have to come in. I'm not doing good. And at the same time I go on Facebook and I see that like I'm getting bullied like for speaking out because
you're in
like,
a vulnerable place.
Yeah. And it's like, and then like that's the shit where it's like that's like too much for me. And like I just get into the whole like
reach out to us.
Like, you know what I mean? But it's like it's just so insane. And like
it's because our voice is so powerful, especially when you're speaking the truth.
Exactly.
And they hate that so much. But we have to remember, we can speak up, but don't speak up to our abuser because they love that. They love when we talk back. They love it because they know how to make us feel crazy again.
Well, and when they get you in that out of your normal state, like, because like I'm not somebody that is, I'm not going to scream at you. I don't like being up, but like once I'm triggered, it's like, you know, I shut down. It's like the Hulk. Like Bruce Banner would never do those things. Like, but like the Hulk
so like
might.
my current man or whatever, me and him have gotten into some like heated arguments. You know what I mean? And like even then, like I love him so much because he's like, dude, you've never acted the way that these people are saying that you act.
Aww.
Like he said that to me. He's like, that's
so confirming.
It makes me feel so good. I would start crying because he literally is like, I would never, he's like, you could never do anything that these people are accusing you of doing. He's like, if they even would to sit down and talk with you for like 20 minutes, they would know that you are not like capable of it.
That's what I say. I'm like, if you really got the chance to know me, everybody who's believing their lies or the next one, whoever was after me, trust me, if you met me, you would love me, and that's why they don't want you to meet me.
Yeah, that's it. Like the thing I said in the beginning, where they're always like, you don't want to talk to her, like she hates you, or they're crazy, and they do everything they can so that you don't reach out to like any of those other people.
It's like you would love me so much, and
did I ever say how I caught mine officially cheating? Like I knew people had already reached out to me, but the way like I got my own confirmation or got it in my face is I was scrolling TikTok one day. I'm home with my daughter, like she's not very old. I'm scrolling TikTok, and on my For You page, a TikTok comes up, and it is a girl and her boyfriend, and they're doing one of those cutesy couples TikToks. You know, it's like hashtag boyfriend, hashtag couples. It's my boyfriend.
That reminds me of that one.
Yeah, so I click on her page. It doesn't stop there, right? So I click on her page, and all that time he's been telling me that he's like working on himself so that he can fix our family and get a hold of his drug problem. He's on a yacht in Chicago with this bitch, okay? Like, he's not giving me child support. He's telling me that he's getting, like, clinical help. And there's, like, a series of TikToks of him and this girl. I call him, and I'm like...
Is she a nurse?
Right? No. She was an exotic dancer.
Of course she was.
So tell me why my ex tried doing something like that, too. Was saying...
She was... a spicy gymnast.
And she was like, because this girl, the one that she didn't tell about, or like let her know about me until like months after, and I was like kind of pushing her like, okay, if they're your friend, then they would know about me, right? Well, she's like, well, she lives in New Jersey, and then she wanted to visit Chicago and pay for my ex to go visit her. And she was like, so would you be cool with me going out there? And I was like, no.
No.
And then she was like, so you don't trust me? And I was like, to be honest, if you would have started this friendship with her, like a friendship, I probably would have. But if you're going to a hotel hours away. What do you think you're gonna do?
Yeah.
And she's like, but I'm not even attracted to her like that. I'm like, but what else is there to
That's
do?
like the
Says
biggest-
every cheater ever.
yeah.
I don't even like them like that.
I'm like, I'm pretty sure if they make a move on you, you're not gonna say no.
But that's the other thing is like if somebody is cheating on you, like a sign of cheating is like their own insecurities.
Yeah.
So it's like they're trying to fill a void somewhere.
Because I was getting a lot of attention, like when they first like that you're like a model, they like that you're like into YouTube. Oh, they love it. Like, oh my gosh, I think it's so cool that you do this. Oh, I think it's so cool that you do that. The more I started getting into it, the more I started like investing time at the studio. You're always over there. You're always doing this.
Yep.
Like you're always around these guys, and I don't know how I feel. What? I thought you liked it. Now I'm not doing YouTube as much.
But that's where that cycle
Now,
or that
like-
lose-lose comes in. Is like you are never gonna win that game unless you leave. Like the only way to win that game is to leave. Is because they're constantly changing what their expectations are. Like you can never meet unstable expectations. Like they're always changing. So you're always trying to meet a different.
That's very true.
Even with
That's very
giving the
true.
okay, like I was okay. Like, do you want to talk to other girls? Cool. Just let me know. Let it be out there in the open.
But then you'll come to that agreement and then you're still cheating. They'll tell you
That's
that about someone else.
No, that's
and you're
literally
still
what happened
cheating
with my ex. Like that's literally what happened with my ex. I would like tell him, I'm like, you know, like, oh, I hooked up with this person, I hooked up with that person. Like I thought we were like friends. And then he would be like, you know, you're the only girl that I could like be with. And I'd be
You're like,
like,
what, this hour?
You're like,
Like, today?
Like, yeah,
Oh
but
my
like, I
gosh.
would believe him though, because like, I'm being honest with him. Why isn't he being honest with me? You know,
Yeah.
like, I got nothing to hide. Like, why don't you got nothing to hide?
Or did like either of you
Like-
go through where they'll go through your phone or like they'll want to see all your things?
Yeah.
Like so like I was
But I couldn't
petrified.
see theirs.
Like I couldn't even look another man in the eyes without feeling like I was doing something wrong.
Same.
Like I was terrified.
But it
Like,
was okay for me to talk to other girls. But when I did, and I would tell you about it, oh, now it's an issue. So then,
what's
do
that
I just
TikTok
not
sound?
tell
It's
you?
It's a problem when they or it's okay.
See,
when you
I
do it. It's a
didn't
problem when I do
experience
it.
that. I experienced to like not give a fuck at all. Like I had like a guy friend one time come over with me to like my ex's house, and like I told my ex like, hey, we're gonna go out, and he's like, okay, have a good night. Like didn't kiss me, but I didn't say nothing. And then so like me and my guy friend are like in the car, and he's like, that's weird as shit.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I'm like, what? And he's like, your man doesn't even care like where you're going. He didn't ask where you're going. He didn't ask who you're with. He didn't ask anything like that. Like my dude did not give a fuck about me, like at all.
That's
like didn't
true,
care
'cause
what I
it's
was
like,
doing. Like he
there's-
had me on blocked on Facebook for like half of our relationship. Like he didn't post pictures of me.
Right. The
Didn't
picture
post
thing
me
I was
on his
Mine didn't
Snapchat.
either.
I didn't post them unless it was being used as a weapon, and it was like always, I don't know, it was always like a specific thing. And then after we were split, I remember begging him to take them down, and he didn't delete them until last week. We've been split for years.
Wow.
Like he did not finally take down the last remaining evidence that we ever like commingled until literally like a week ago.
Mine
Oh my
didn't post
God.
me. They don't post this because they want to still seem available, but
Yep.
also with trying to sound together. So what mine would do is like sprinkle me in here and there, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, you're so sweet. You posted me, and I'm over here getting this.
I remember getting
special.
posted, and I remember like it's embarrassing even to admit, like, because I am not this person anymore. But I remember like not wanting to admit it, but knowing I was being cheated on, and having those pictures posted, and a part of me was like, at least I'm the main. Like, that was some sort of accomplishment. Like, well, at least I'm number one.
Yeah, dude.
And, but then they would get mad
But
too.
then it's awful because that's the worst. I would rather be number two. Like I'm getting clowned. Like I'm
Yeah,
out here. Like I am.
honestly.
There's all these
Beat
girls.
on, too.
There's all these girls that are secretly like, poor girl. Like she has no idea.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, dude. That's what I'll always say. Like, my ex will always like be like, "You're jealous," and I'm like, "Dude, the only reason I was jealous is because I was doing your laundry,
Yeah.
taking your kids to
Yeah.
school sometimes,
Taking hits. Like,
yeah,
I'm
literally
taking
getting
every-
beat
You are
up,
draining
getting cheated
every
on,
part of me.
doing
That's why I'm
everything
jealous.
wrong. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yes, I was jealous.
It's not even a
because she got
jealousy.
the
It
good-
feels like, like you have put in the
Yeah.
blood, sweat, and tears, and then somebody else is getting
Yeah.
the vacation. It's
Yeah.
like, what the
That's what I literally started
Yeah.
saying. I was like, all this work that I'm putting into this person for them just to go be better for somebody else.
Yeah.
Now I don't care.
or
but
like
in the
my
relationship,
ex
I
would
did.
steal my money and use my car to drive other bitches around.
No.
I was like,
No.
like, you're not stealing my money to go like, so then all these girls think he's like a baller and he's got like 12 fucking dollars to his name. Like, I was like, that's my money.
Dude,
like,
I just want to know. I'm saying no too, by the way. And it's not like, no, I would never do that. It's just like, you never realize what you can, but like what you put up with until like you're out of it. You know what I mean? Or it literally takes someone else like saying the same exact situation for you to be like, girl, why would you put yourself through that? And then you're like, wait, I went through that. You know what I mean?
I think it's made me a lot more hesitant, like with new relationships of any kind. Like, I feel like I used to just be that person that would give, like right from the beginning. And now I hold back a little bit because I notice like that's part of me that I can't change, or I don't really want to change. Like, I love with every part of me. Yeah. But now like, I don't let, like, I'm more hesitant. I don't let myself fall as quickly because I have learned what can happen. Like, those rose-tinted glasses are real. Like, when you are that deep in something, you are going to somehow try and rationalize everything that's happening.
I always say too, it's like, you know what, the train left the station there in my, I forgot what I was saying. The train left ADHD.
That's fine.
Like, what the heck? It was right there.
But even with like the healing thing, like, I don't know that I'll ever like fully heal. Or like the other thing where people say like you have to like forgive to move. No, you fucking don't.
No, you don't.
Fucking don't. I will never forgive him
you
for some of the out of pocket shit he did to me.
So like the last time like my ex like was like abusive towards me or whatever, like I left his house and I went home and like I like tried killing myself, right? And I remember I was like reaching out to him and I was like basically like I just wanted him to come help me. Yeah. Like that's literally what it was. Like, I got to the point where I was like,
that connection.
I was like, telling him like, just please like come help me. Like, this is just hurting me so much. I just can't deal with this anymore. And he told me to do it. And something like clicked.
You and that vape, you're just never gonna learn.
Something clicked in my brain though. Where like I went from being like I like don't want to live anymore because like I can't like deal with this
you
to like
stop.
The you're last thing. Like I flat out told him though, I was like, if I do one thing before I die, you're gonna go to jail for what you did to me. Like I swear to God, that is one of the last things that like.
And I'm so proud of you for like. I know you said you're working on your court thing, like. Yeah. And not everybody does. Like and like. I'm proud of you for doing that and following through with it.
I've been asked like so many times in like the past couple of months, even by like the county attorney, like if it's something that I still want to like go forward with it. Because it's funny though, because it's like every time I'm like, okay, you know, like maybe we can just be done with this or whatever. Yeah.
You want to hear
something happens where like someone unblocks me or posts some shit about me, and then I get that fire under my ass again.
But as somebody that I didn't follow through with mine. Like I didn't follow through with mine. So I made the worst mistake. And he had gotten arrested, and it was like he was facing felony charges for like strangulation. Like he took my phone. Like he was facing all kinds of charges. And after he. First, pause. Have you ever seen somebody practice their smile for their mugshot? Because this is thing I will never forget this. So he the cops came, he ran, and then he breaks back into my house, threatens my life, and says like, I'm going to go turn myself in, but if you don't find a way to get these charges dropped, like I'm going to kill you and your family. And I'm just like, oh, okay, like whatever. Like I don't I'm scared at this point. You're in my house. Like what the fuck am I going to do? But I remember he was. Like, we had a no contact order, so we couldn't be seen together. He was at my house. I drive to Walgreens to buy this man white t-shirts because he couldn't turn himself into jail without white t-shirts. Right? Like, that fresh tees. And then I watched this man, like, fix his hair and smile. Like, he's practicing. That right there, like, who the fuck practices their smile for their mugshot where they're turning themselves in for a damn near almost unaliving?
Because they're proud of it.
Like, you want to look good for when you show up on, like, Lynn County current inmates?
So when you called the police, did they arrest him, like, that day?
So he ran. So he had to turn himself in. So, like, they wanted to. And so that was the thing. So he turned himself in. And I remember, like, the cops and, like, the district attorney and everybody checking back in with me. And, like, you know, because at that point, they take the case from you. Like, it's the state against them because so many people... so many people do like what I did, and there are still ways, and I found that way. I remember I personally went in and spoke to the person I remember my ex, I almost said his name. My ex had, actually, I still have, I might not anymore, but during the case, our case is over, but during that case, I still had it. he had actually written out exactly what he wanted the letter to say and then made me rewrite it in my handwriting.
Okay, so mine, I like...
And he basically made me say that I was crazy and that I made it all up. So I messed up by going through with that because I lost all my credibility. So
And
from
that's
that
what
point
they
on,
don't-
I had called the cops like for like future situations. And still to this day, it makes me sick if I look up like I will never call CRPD because I don't feel safe. Like they made me feel like I was crazy and like I was making it up because they believed my ex.
Yeah.
Like they believed my ex, and it was because I lost all credibility once I got him out of trouble the first time. They thought I was just
I wrote
crazy.
the letter.
I'm like, I have bruises.
Yeah.
Like I don't like you probably like, how do you explain those? I had a recording literally like a few Halloweens ago. I was strangled unconscious in my own driveway behind my house. And at the time I was working as a property manager. So I had 2 phones, and somewhere in my intoxicated state, I thought I was smart enough to push record on my work phone and throw it in my backpack. And so there's no like visual, but you can hear the audio of me just being strangled unconscious, me like begging for help. And then I remember I came to just barely, and I don't really remember this, but you can hear in the recording, I'm so out of sorts that I didn't know where I was. I didn't know who he was. And instead of like picking me up or helping me, he takes that opportunity. You can hear it in the recording. And he's like, did someone drug you at the bar? Like thinking I'm going to forget that dude just strangled me. Like you can hear my head hit the garage door.
See,
like,
that's what my...
And he's like, I'm so sorry. God. Literally, I think the scariest part is you can literally hear, like, as I'm going unconscious, he is whispering into my ear, I just love you so much. Like, you mean so much to me. He is strangling me unconscious as he is repeating, I love you. You mean so much to me. Like, you mean so much to me. Like, dude, then he throws me over his shoulder and carries me in the front door, and they caught that on the Ring camera. And I remember my best friend was there watching my kids for the night.
Yeah.
And so I walk in and she's like, what the hell just happened? Like, we call the police. Police come. They wouldn't listen to anything she had to say because she was my friend. So like she was, you know, like on my side, and they didn't want to listen to any of my recordings. They said it didn't matter. Like,
yeah. So for me, it took them a year to arrest him.
Wow.
So after he did that, like strangled me 3 times in one day. They told me, because like my stuff was still at his house. They told
always
me,
fucks stuff up too when you're trying to say you don't live with them, and there's
I like my car was like registered there, like you know what I mean. I had mail going there, like that was my place, and the police told me like, you know, if you go through and press these charges, you can go back and get all your stuff from his house that day. So I was like, hell yeah, because like I had like my medication, my phone, like not my phone, like my keys, like everything, like all my clothes and stuff were there. And then so like I like went through with the charges, and then they, you know, told me they were gonna arrest him, and they didn't arrest him for a year later. Damn. Or I think it was 9 months later. And in those 9 months is when he was able to like convince me that like, you know, he wasn't gonna do it again.
Right.
So I ended up like writing a letter for him and everything. But kind of like what she said too, it's like while I was writing the letter, I was calling him on the phone, being like, hey, does this sound good?
Right.
Like, can we just say that it's this? Like, I started going to therapy to try and prove that I had borderline personality disorder to try and get him off of it. But my therapist was like, I can't even give you a diagnosis for something this fast, by the way. And like, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to take longer than just a couple of sessions for you to get diagnosed with that. Like,
and see, I hate that part too, because it's like they literally start to make you, I mean, the gaslighting, you know, it starts to work the deeper that you're into it. And it's like the fact that they do all this, and it just makes me think like your guys' story just makes me think like I got out at the right time.
That's what I was thinking earlier.
Is because it's like it could have been so much worse.
And that's the thing is like I feel like every time I felt like it couldn't get worse, like it got worse. This dude was putting air tags on my car. Like he was going through like all my electronics. He was breaking into my house. Like there was nights that I would go to sleep, like I thought I locked all the doors, and I would wake up and he'd be in my bed. Like it got so completely out of hand. Like my dad was like screwing the basement windows closed. Like my whole family was scared for me.
Yeah, that is insane.
Yeah, and it's like
for mine, he would just like text me, be like, oh, I'm gonna kill myself. He'd be like, my kids are here, I'm just gonna kill myself if you don't come over here. He would he tried like paying people to beat up like the man that I was like seeing. Like
I felt like got to a certain point, like I didn't feel safe even talking to any other guys because I remember like the first couple, like even people I was just friends with. Like I have a guy friend of years, and my ex has shown up at his house. It's still to this day will cause beef with him in public spaces and try to cause a fight. And it's like, I'm not with either of them.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It's just crazy.
So it's like, I was like, I don't want to, now I'm fine. I'm in the clear. But for like a couple of years there, I didn't even feel safe for the other person's sake. It was like, I don't want to put you at risk of all of the shit I'm dealing with right now. Like, it's not fair to you. I don't want you to have to deal with the threats and the craziness. And even if you think you're strong enough, like, you just shouldn't have to deal with that.
You
like,
shouldn't have to.
Nobody, like, it's insane.
That's why I literally ended so many of my relationships that I like every time we would break up.